Hello everyone, I'm Aaron, a birding naturalist. Welcome to my channel. There's an outbreak of avian flu going on right now, and I want to talk about it. So avian flu, sometimes called avian influenza, sometimes called bird flu, it's a fairly famous disease. It's a fairly common one. Outbreaks of this disease seem to occur every year, every other year, thereabouts. Many of these outbreaks are pretty minor, and sometimes not so minor. The outbreak that's currently manifesting itself in the US is a strain of avian influenza that's referred to as highly pathogenic. Sounds scarier than it really is. Well, in some ways. It's a very scary disease for anyone who is in the domestic bird business. If you are a chicken farmer or a turkey farmer, if that's your livelihood, if you have domestic bird stock, then it can be a huge issue. Chickens especially seem to be incredibly susceptible. They can have 100% mortality in flocks from this strain, this particular strain of avian influenza. So it's really bad news if you raise chickens. But a lot of questions have been asked. They're floating around in the birding community right now about how does that apply to wild bird populations? People are concerned. Should I take down my bird feeders? Am I, as a backyard bird feeder, going to contribute to the spread of this avian disease to the birds that I love to watch? And it is a little bit nuanced and a little bit detailed based on state to state to state, because not all states have the same sort of guidelines, and there are good reasons for this. What it mostly boils down to is different state wildlife agencies and other public health agencies are issuing recommendations kind of based on what the strain of influenza is doing in that particular state, and also the rates of contact between wild birds and domestic birds, because that's what a lot of people are really worried about. Turns out this strain is not particularly dangerous to most wild birds. There are some species of bird that are definitely more susceptible. Waterfowl, for example, so geese and ducks, seem to be carriers of this disease, but they don't often get sick from it. Raptors and gulls and vultures seem to be more susceptible. They actually catch the thing and do get sick at higher rates, but it's still not crazy high rates. I mean, in the state of California, so far to date, and I'm filming this in September of 2022, in California, since this outbreak began earlier this year, there have only been about 34-ish cases of wild bird being diagnosed with the strain of avian influenza. And even nationwide, to date, again, it's only around 2,200-ish. So it's not like it's rampant, it's not like it's raging through these populations, but it's definitely there, and it's definitely a concern. Songbirds don't seem to be affected by this very much at all, which is really great news to anyone who is worried about their backyard bird feeding. Because most of the time in a backyard bird feeding situation, what you're feeding are songbirds. So, general guidelines in some states are asking people to take down their bird feeders. Illinois, for example, is an example of this. The state of Illinois is saying, please take your bird feeders down, especially if your bird feeders are in the vicinity of a flock of domestic birds, chickens, turkeys, that kind of thing. Where I live in California, there's no such guidelines. We're not being instructed to take down our bird feeders by state wildlife agencies. Now, state wildlife agencies are recommending, hey, it's a good idea to clean your bird feeders. And this is an excellent point. And this is true, honestly, if you live in an area where there's a serious outbreak of this avian influenza strain, and it's a good idea, even if you don't. Keep your bird feeders clean. Keep your bird baths clean. If you really want to be dedicated, clean them once a day, clean them once every other day. Clean them pretty darn frequently. A lot of people don't worry about that, and if you are not in an area where there's a serious outbreak, you probably don't have to. But if you want to be careful, rinsing down your bird baths and your bird feeders with a 10% bleach solution, for example, every other day, it's a good plan. It's a safe plan. But I don't think, and nothing that I've been reading or hearing makes me indicate that taking down bird feeders as a whole is a good idea. In winter, especially in urban or semi-urban areas, finding a food source is a really important thing for a bird. It's a really good thing. And I think that all the benefits, all the nutrients, all the energy that we give to birds by feeding birds at our bird feeders in our backyards outweighs these very minor risks that maybe they could contribute to the spread of avian influenza. Like I said, songbirds, not very susceptible. Don't think it's a big issue. So I think with a pretty high degree of confidence, we can all keep feeding our birds unless you live in a particular state where there is an outbreak. And then follow your state's wildlife agency's guidelines. But for everybody else, I think it's pretty safe. Keep on feeding birds in your backyard. Keep everything clean, keep everything sanitary. Nobody wants to eat off of dirty dishware. But go ahead and enjoy your backyard birds. I hope that clears up some confusion. I hope that gives you solace if you are a backyard bird feeder, and gives you some guidelines on how to find out more. Speaking of which, in addition to looking for your state's wildlife agency's recommendations, I'm going to leave a couple of useful pages in the description below so that you can learn more and read up for yourself and kind of make your own informed decision on whether or not you want to keep your bird baths and bird feeders up and running, or if you want to take them down for safety's sake. Thank you very much for the view. Subscribe to the channel, and until next time, enjoy the natural world.